Okay, let's unpack this whole non-revenue airline travel thing. Non-rev, right?
Mm.
It's this amazing perk if you work for an airline, this like incredible freedom.
Yeah, the dream benefit, really.
And it's a big, but if you've done it, there's always that uncertainty. Like, am
Yeah.
I actually going to get on this flight? Finding a seat, getting cleared. It can be, well, a bit of a gamble sometimes.
It absolutely can. It's probably the most sought-after benefit, but using it well, that takes some skill, some strategy, maybe even a little luck, like you said. You're always, playing second fiddle to paying customers.
Exactly. So your travel plans hinge on empty seats at the last second.
Concisely.
And that's what we're diving into today. We want to tackle that uncertainty, try and boost your chances of actually making these non-rev trips happen smoothly.
Yeah, we've gathered quite a bit of material here, insights on some new tech, practical guides, even some really personal takes from experienced non-rev flyers.
Our mission really is to pull out the key takeaways from all this. Give you the shortcuts, the main insights, so you feel prepared, less stressed, and can, actually enjoy the perk.
Definitely. Less nail-biting at the gate, hopefully.
So let's jump right in with maybe the biggest headache. Flight availability changing all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You check the loads, days out, looks okay, maybe even good. But you know that what you see then isn't always what happens at departure. It's a moving target.
Totally. And that's where one of the sources talks about something pretty interesting, technologically speaking, a new feature they call smart seat predictions.
Smart seat predictions.
Okay, sounds useful.
What is it exactly?
Well, it's built to tackle exactly that problem, the unpredictability. Instead of just showing the seats open right now, it uses AI, machine learning, all that stuff,
Yeah.
to predict what the load will probably look like when the plane is actually about to leave at departure time.
Predicting the future, that sounds ambitious. What's it based on?
Yeah, not quite a crystal ball. It's more about algorithms. It looks at, obviously, the current seats available, but also tons of historical data for that flight, booking trends for the season, day of the week.
All those patterns.
Right, all those little factors that influence who actually shows up. It crunches all that to give you, well, the best possible guess.
Okay, so it's trying to be dynamic, not just a static number. That could be huge for planning, almost like having, that friend in revenue management you always wish you had.
That's exactly the comparison one source made. And it fits. The main idea is helping you plan better. Choose flights where you've realistically got a better shot at getting cleared.
Makes sense. So how do you see these predictions? Are they easy to find?
Yeah, seems straightforward. It's built right into the usual search. On the web, the predictions just show up with the flight results. On the app, you just, tap the flight to see the details, and it's right there.
And you still see the current load, too. The real-time info.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That doesn't change. You still get the current percentage for your own airline flights, the inline ones, and the actual seat count for other airlines, the online travel. The predicted number just shows up right next to it.
Okay, got it. Current and predicted. Good comparison point. But let's be clear, it's still a prediction, not a golden ticket, right?
Absolutely. Very important point. The sources stress. It's an estimate, the best estimate they can generate, but definitely not a guarantee. And there are a couple of limitations right now, too.
Like what?
Well, the predictions only go out 28 days currently, and they might not be available for every single airline you might want to fly on. Still evolving,
Okay, 28 days out, not all airlines.
Yeah.
Still seems way better than just guessing based on today's numbers. Did they mention how well it works? Any testing?
They did. One source mentioned testing with 3 airlines. And apparently 80% of the employees using these predictions said they were able to get on the flight they wanted.
80%. Wow. Okay, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, it suggests it really does help people make smarter choices about which flights to aim for. Doesn't eliminate the risk, but seems to, stack the odds a bit more in your favor.
Definitely. Okay, so that tech sounds like a real step forward for understanding potential loads. But like you said, successful non-revving is more than just the load factor, isn't it? There's the whole planning aspect.
Oh, absolutely. The tech is a great tool, but you need that solid foundation, that strategy. One of our sources lays out a kind of 5-step approach, a good framework for putting your non-rev plan together.
Okay, let's break down some of those key planning steps.
Well, first, obviously, checking the loads, and now using something like Smart Seat Predictions gives you that extra boost we just talked about.
Right.
But then critically, maybe even more critically, is having backup plans. And not just one. Plan B, Plan C, maybe even Plan D sometimes.
Backups are totally non-negotiable in non-rev. What does that mean in practice, though? Like, how do you build good backup?
It means thinking wider than just your perfect flight. Could you fly into a nearby airport instead,
Hmm.
or connect through a different city, a different hub? Look for multiple paths to get where you're going. Flexibility is the name of the game.
Flexibility is king.
Right. Because they can differ quite a bit. Dress codes, how you need to list or check in for standby, their priority system. It's not universal. Don't assume anything.
Good point. Their plane, their rules. What else?
Double, triple check all your documents, passport valid, got the right visas, any health forms needed. Simple stuff, but an expired passport or a missing visa kills your trip instantly, no matter how empty the flight is.
Ouch. Yeah, basics first. And what about actually booking or listing? When should you do that? Wait till the last minute?
No, definitely not. The advice is clear. Book or list ahead of time, as early as their system allows.
Why is that?
Two main reasons. One, it's usually easy to cancel and get refunded if you don't get on. But two, and this is key, some airlines prioritize standby based on when you listed or checked in.
Really? So listing early could actually give you a higher spot on the list.
Potentially, yes, depending on that specific airline's rules. So don't wait. It might actually improve your odds beyond just the seat count.
That's a fantastic tip. Okay, what about things like hotels, rental cars? Assuming you make it.
Yeah, use those employee travel platforms like ID90 Travel as mentioned, book hotels, transport in advance. But the absolute crucial thing here is flexible cancellation. Everything you book needs to be easily cancelable without penalty.
Because your flight plans might change last minute.
Exactly. You need that escape hatch. One source even mentions a pro tip about adding hotels to a watch list so you can grab them quickly once your flight looks solid.
Flexible bookings. Got it. Okay, planning done, prep work sorted. Now, the airport itself, the standby process. This is where the rubber meets the road, right?
This is it, the moment of truth. The guides say, arrive early, give yourself loads of time, check in, security. Rushing adds stress you just don't need when you're trying to non-rev.
And check-in usually means visiting the actual airline counter, not just online.
Generally, yes. For most other airlines, you'll need to go to their desk to confirm you're there, maybe get a security pass, whatever the specific non-rev procedure is. Don't assume online check-in is enough.
Okay. Then through security, find the gate. What next?
Make your presence known. Just a quick, polite hello to the gate agents. Hi, I'm listed for standby. Let them know you're physically there and ready. They're busy, so just a friendly check-in helps.
And if they call your name and clear you,
Woo! Celebration time. You get your boarding pass, your seat assignment. You made it. For that leg, anyway.
what if the boarding starts, continues, and your name isn't called? Gets down to the wire?
Right. This is where a really critical pro tip comes in from one source. If you haven't been cleared, do not leave the gate. Not until that boarding door is physically closed.
Seriously, stick around even when it looks hopeless.
Absolutely. Things change at the very last second. People misconnect. Someone doesn't show up. Maybe they even swap planes. A seat can appear out of nowhere. Your chance isn't truly gone until that door shuts. Stay put. Hope isn't lost till it's closed.
Wow, that's valuable advice. Don't give up too early. Okay, so let's say you make it. You're at your destination. How do you make the most of the trip and, crucially, start thinking about getting home?
Right. Enjoying the destination is the whole point.
Yeah.
The sources suggest using those employee travel platforms again, like ID90 Travel partnering with Viator, for discounted tours, activities, attractions.
Makes sense. And I assume keeping those plans flexible, too.
Totally. Same principle as hotels. Look for free cancellation options. Your travel is uncertain, so your activities should have some wiggle room too. And definitely tap into the network. Ask fellow airline employees for tips on the ground. They often have the best local secrets.
Good call. That employee community is a resource. Okay, now, the return trip, which can feel even more stressful sometimes.
It often does, because you usually have a hard deadline, getting back for work. The process is basically the outbound in reverse. You have to watch those return flight loads carefully before you even think about heading to the airport.
And have backups ready for the return, too.
Absolutely essential. More backups. Could you fly out of a different nearby airport? Is there another airline you can list on? Maybe even, at worst case, look at trains or buses if you're really stuck.
Have multiple exit strategies. What if things go wrong on the return? Delays happen.
Be prepared. Have a backup hotel option booked again, flexibly near your departure airport. Getting stranded overnight unexpectedly when you need to be back at work? That's rough. Having a Plan B hotel removes some stress.
And that buffer day idea. Planning to get back a day before you actually need to be at work.
Oh, that's crucial. Don't plan your return flight to land the morning you're due back on shift. Give yourself at least one full day. Weather, mechanical issues, high loads, stuff happens. You need that cushion so you're not panicking about missing work.
Makes total sense.
And the big pro tip for the return, maybe the most important one, start thinking about your return options when you plan the outbound trip. Don't wait until you're on vacation. Figure out potential return flights and backups before you even leave home.
Plan the return with the outbound. That's solid gold advice right there.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
so we've covered the tech, the planning steps, the airport logistics. But one source brings in a totally different angle, more about the softer skills,
Huh?
the unspoken rules.
Yeah, this is a really interesting perspective from someone named Mark Gokinko. He's got tons of non-rev miles under his belt from his time at AMR, a legacy carrier. Flew all over, even got premium seats sometimes, all space available.
And his take is that while tools like smart seat predictions are great and make forecasting loads easier than back in his day,
Oh, yeah. He explicitly says he wishes he'd had those tools. So his focus isn't predicting loads anymore. It's all about the things you can do personally that might just tip the scales in your favor, especially when things look tight. Your conduct, basically.
he frames it cleverly too as things not to do, which kind of tells you what you should do. What are his big points?
Number one, hands down, attitude. He says you need to check your pride at the airport door. You are not a paying customer. You're essentially asking a stranger, the gate agent, the counter staff, for a massive favor.
That's a huge mental shift. It's not an entitlement, it's a privilege you're asking for.
Precisely. His mindset was always feeling lucky just to be on the list. Treat the staff like they hold your travel fate in their hands. Because, well, often they do. Be grateful. Be humble.
Okay, attitude adjustment is key. What else?
Dress code. Don't just meet the minimum standard, exceed it if you can. If the rule is business casual, he suggests aiming higher. He personally wore a sport coat, nice slacks, like he was going to an important meeting.
Why go the extra mile on dress?
He thinks about it from the airline staff's view. They don't want hassle from paying passengers complaining about a scruffy-looking non-rev. You're representing the airline, even off-duty. And he makes a strong point. Even if rules say you should get a seat based on priority or whatever, an agent could potentially deny boarding if they feel you're not dressed appropriately or causing any kind of issue.
Wow, really? They have that much leeway?
According to him, yes.
Yeah.
Pushing boundaries, especially with dress, is risky. He tells this specific story. It really illustrates the point. Yeah, he and another non-rev were waiting. One first-class seat opened up, one economy. Both were guaranteed a seat based on the rules.
Yeah.
He got first class, the other person got economy. The only difference, he wore slacks and a sport coat. The other person wore jeans.
Whoa. That really drives home how presentation can actually matter in a tangible way. Dress the part.
Absolutely. What's his next big piece of advice?
He repeats this one over and over. Be nice. Genuinely nice to everyone. Gate agents, flight attendants, counter staff. He compares it to asking a stranger for a ride. If your car breaks down, you'd be super polite, right? Same idea. Just be nice, smile, be patient.
He even mentioned sometimes bringing small tokens.
Yeah.
Occasionally. Like a bag of candy or cheap Valentine's flowers once. Nothing fancy. He says maybe it was just luck, but on the days he did that, he got on the flight. It's about creating that positive interaction, showing appreciation, reinforcing that they do have discretion, so being pleasant matters.
That's fascinating. It's not just about the numbers or the rules. There's this whole human interaction layer.
Definitely. And his last point really ties into that. Remember, you're an airline employee, even on your day off. Act like it. Act like you're working, in a sense.
Yeah.
Treat the paying customers like they're your customers. Be polite, helpful, courteous.
Like the story about him helping with bags.
Exactly. After he got on, he helped people stow their carry-ons. Just out of gratitude. His thinking is, every little bit helps. It reflects well on you, on the airline, contributes to that positive vibe.
That's, yeah, a really powerful set of insights. It adds this whole personal conduct dimension to the technical and planning stuff.
It really does. It shows non-revving isn't just a science. There's an art to it, too. Navigating the people part.
So pulling it all together then, this deep dive gives us like a multi-layered strategy for non-rev success. We've got the tech, like smart seat predictions for a smarter view availability.
Then the solid planning foundation, backups, carry-on only, documents ready, flexible bookings way in advance.
Knowing how to handle the airport, arrive early, check in right, let the agents know you're there, and that crucial advice, stick it out at the gate.
And layered on top of all that, the human element. The right attitude, dressing sharp, being genuinely nice, and acting professionally.
Combining all those things, the tech, the planning, the personal approach, seems like the best way to really maximize your chances for a smooth, less stressful, maybe even enjoyable non-rev trip.
Yeah. It shifts it from feeling like pure luck to something you can actively influence through good prep, flexibility, and just how you show up.
Right. And maybe a final thought for you listening. Non-rev travel, as we've seen, isn't just about snagging an empty seat. It's about navigating this really complex system of rules, yes, but also probabilities, and crucially, human interactions and perceptions. It demands that meticulous prep, serious flexibility, and really presenting your best self. So what can learning to navigate this kind of uncertainty blending planning with personal conduct teach us about handling other unpredictable situations in life?